Mason pretty much all my life and been a Kiwanian since 1972. I got involved in Kiwanis because it was pretty much the organization in Mason that got things done. My dad was one of the original founders of the Kiwanis, along with Alvoris and a few others, and when he retired from the business and I took over the business, I took over his spot on Kiwanis. In Kiwanis, I pretty much held every office from a board member to secretary to treasurer to vice president, president. Eventually got involved golf outing, which really wasn't a forte since I didn't play golf. Our president at the time was Ray Wilt, and he was looking for a fundraiser. He enlisted the help of Jack Flaherty. They were looking basically to raise scholarship money. They enlisted the help from Dick Craig over at Jack Nicklaus Golf Course. Dick suggested a golf outing, which was something totally foreign to me. They presented it to the club, and it was a fairly contentious vote to get it started because they basically proposed that they were going to have 2 scholarships at $1,000 each, and they would last for 4 years. So that meant they were committing $8,000. And I can tell you right off, I voted no against it because I said you can't offer $8,000 in scholarships and not have any money. You got to get the money first and then offer the scholarships. We committed to raising money for the scholarships, and actually the first year with terrible weather and all, we raised about $7,000, which came close to the commitment that the club had made. We really had every member of the clubs involved in it. Of course, I did serve on the committee even though I wasn't in favor of the thing to begin with, and did that the second year. And Jack Flaherty has a habit of getting things started and passing them off to somebody else. He's very good at that. He told me, he says, "Dick, you did a good job of organizing 2 or 3 of these things. Why don't you just take over and chair the golf outing next year?" So I did that, and then that went on for 24 years. The last 4 years, I think I chaired it, we were close to 30,000 or over. Had a fantastic crew of people that helped with the golf outing. It wasn't me being the chair, it was the people that we had working there. And that was the very beginning of the scholarships and the beginning of the golf outing. I had the personal goal of always trying to increase the amount of funds we raised. And you know, we got up to peak levels of over 30,000 a year for a few years, but it just wasn't sustainable. That was kind of the beginning of the 2 parts, the golf outing and the scholarship foundation. There was enough money put into the foundation eventually that it was necessary to make it its own entity. As the funds began to accumulate and we realized that we didn't need to keep $50,000 or $100,000 in the Kiwanis Club coffers, because those funds are basically under the control of Kiwanis International. We are a division of Kiwanis International. So we felt at that time, as they grew, needed to be separated, identified in a separate entity that it does not have the Kiwanis name on it, although we are definitely Kiwanis affiliated. It was just one of those technical things you do to make sure your funds are guarded. There's a little more involved than just handing out scholarships. To be a good, credible organization, we needed to have those funds audited, and audits are expensive. The other thing, we had enough money in there, none of the board of directors really wanted to be liable for that, so we wanted to have insurance. So we found out that, you know, if we do these things, we were running into some significant expenses, and we wanted to keep all the money available for the scholarships. So Warren County Foundation was starting at that time, and it gave us an opportunity to have someone else invest those funds where they could grow at a better rate. They managed the funds, which took the onus off of the board of directors, who was just buying CDs and trying to manage it very conservatively. We no longer had to have an audit of our books because all the money was there. They have the insurance, so that eliminated a lot of the expenses, and I think it's been a great coordination combination. It really is part and parcel of Kiwanis, but it is separated to the degree that it is autonomous and can operate on its own. As if the Kiwanis Club didn't continue, that foundation would still be there, would not revert to Kiwanis International or to anyone else. It would be an item that can exist on its own, by itself, and that was kind of the intent, I think, originally from Mike Sada those 40 years ago. One of Mike's goals that he wanted to see was a fund that would be a memorial type fund or a fund that would run in perpetuity. You know, at first he thought, because as Kiwanis clubs grow, we get older members, and as some die, maybe somebody wanting to make a donation, it could go to that memorial fund. Actually gave me the idea that the scholarships could develop into a fund that we could keep building on. You know, we didn't have to give away every cent from the golf outing that we raised. We could start putting that into a fund so that we could perpetuate the scholarships if and when the golf outing doesn't produce the funds we need anymore. It's called Mason Scholarship Foundation just because we couldn't use the Kiwanis name because we were a separate entity. But whenever it's presented in the public, in the newspapers or whatever, it's the Mason Scholarship Foundation with the scholarships presented by Kiwanis. The funds have built up significantly. I don't know if they'll ever get to my pie in the sky of $1 million. But as I say, the original golf outing was totally for scholarships. That's not totally the case anymore because those funds are raised for the benefit of the Kiwanis Club. The Kiwanis Club board then decides how much of those funds that the golf outing raise goes to the Scholarship Foundation and how much they need for their other projects. Of course, in Kiwanis, you're doing fundraisers. In the early years, had a chicken dinner where they roasted chickens out on WLW Farm. My dad got me involved in that as a youngster, making iced tea with a garden hose in a big barrel. I don't think we could meet sanitation needs that right now the way we did it then, but it got done, and they had a great fundraiser. They did some broadcasts from there, and they were so successful because they would announce these chicken dinners on the radio, and that's why I say we draw from a tri-state area. All the wives helped, and it was just a big deal. And that was before my time as a Kiwanian. That was from my time as a youth getting involved in it and enjoying every minute of it. They went on for quite a few years, raised a lot of money for the club. It was a real feature they had. But as all things, time passes and things change, and that is no longer an option. So they had their pancake days, which they've had since the beginning, and done well with those. The things that the current club has done with Pancake Day to expand them is just fantastic. They've made it a big deal, a true money raiser, and not just a small little thing that draws a few people in. So yeah, I'm very proud of what the leadership in the Pancake Day has done. The leadership of that has just done a great job. The club does a lot of good in a lot of different areas, particularly with the youth and the schools. This is what we're here for. We're a fundraising organization, and we're here to help the community, specifically focused on the youth of the community. It's a good organization. And there's not many others, I don't think, in town that do nearly the job that the Kiwanis Club does.